Alana Jaylo.
Yes.
Is it Jaylo or Jaylo?
Jaylo.
Jaylo.
Yes.
So we just had an interesting experience.
Yes, we did.
Do you want to start off?
Well, what are we talking about first?
We're talking about what happened in the kitchen.
Oh yeah.
I feel really bad about what happened.
You do?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was something that it was a learning curve for both of us. We made chow mein for the first time.
And for the first time, it's like neither of us have ever done it before.
Nope.
And both of us have very little experience making Asian food.
Yeah.
I've heard that India is technically considered it falls under the umbrella. And in that case, I have some experience making Indian food.
Yeah.
But as far as like Chinese and Japanese food, and when I say Chinese, I'm talking about like Polynesian version.
Polynesian version, yeah.
Right. This is like the second time I've made anything of that nature. And the first time was earlier this week with you.
It just seems like Indian food is in another category than the typical Asian stuff.
I would agree, but I've heard some people place it in that category.
Right.
I don't know why,
Well, I think because India is located in Asia.
Oh, it is?
Yep, it's just east of the Philippines.
See, I'm really bad at geography.
My mom told me that.
Okay.
It's east of the Philippines. Yeah.
Okay. So what happened today?
Everything was fine, with the veggies and everything. But there was too much soy sauce in the sauce, which made it really, really salty. And then our noodles were sticking together like we were worried that it was going to. But otherwise, everything tasted really good.
Basically, when we got back to my place, I gave you some bok choy to start chopping up. And I had seen a couple of videos about how to prepare, chow mein before, but I hadn't really paid as much attention as I should have. So while you were doing that, I started watching one video on it. And it said use a cup of soy sauce. Or, I'm sorry, a half a cup of soy sauce.
Yeah.
So I used half a cup, and it turned out that was a little bit too much.
Yes.
And so we need to adjust the recipe next time. And I felt really, really bad. Oh. And the other video I watched said that when you're done cooking the noodles, to toss it with some sesame seed oil, which I did, but for some reason they still stuck. Oh. So I need to watch a couple more videos so I can get a few more different perspectives.
Right.
So I do feel bad because I think this might have been the first time you had a bad meal that I worked on.
It was, I mean, with despite those two things that we both complained about.
Yep.
I don't think it was all that too bad.
Okay.
It could have been a lot worse. I mean, the noodles could have been really dry, and there couldn't have been like enough sauce in it. Yeah. It could have been a lot worse than it was.
Yeah. So what we've agreed to do is sometime within the next couple weeks, probably sometime next week, we're going to give it another shot and hopefully do it right this time. Which means that I'm going to study some YouTube videos this weekend. And you can study some too if you want. Yes. Oh.
Yes.
Our news exchange is done.
It is. Thank God. I have to say that.
I feel the same way.
If I'm really honest.
Okay.
Thank God. Why don't you tell us how your experience went, and then I'll say how mine did.
I'm listening to Rush Limbaugh for 3 days. And the entire time, because I watch a lot of TYT and a lot of Democracy Now! On YouTube, I'm thinking to myself, oh no, is the algorithm going to change? And is YouTube going to start thinking I'm conservative and giving me all these like weird conservative videos? That did not happen. Every morning I got up, I was like, I got to listen to this again. This is some old guy talking about how great Trump is. It wasn't horrible. It just
I'm glad it wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, there were some things I thought that he did a good job of presenting, but it's nothing that I feel like I have to stick with.
Right.
And again, I think I've told you this before. I was expecting him to have a lot more interaction with the phone calls.
Yeah, that's well, and then also too, I've explained before, it's very hard for people to come in because there's so many people trying to call, and also the screener needs to screen them to see, what do you want to talk about, whether it pertains to the topic or whether it's somebody that is somebody that wants to start trouble. Because there were people, with some of his guest hosts, there were people that were trying to start trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And actually was in opposition to some of the phone calls. So that's why the screener has to really take into consideration who is on the line and who is worthy of listening to.
A couple of points on that. And I'm probably a little bit spoiled since I've been a Howard Stern listener since the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But some of my favorite segments on his show is when somebody calls up Howard Stern and calls him out on some bullshit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they like get into an argument, and whether you agree with Howard or not, it's really, really interesting radio.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it would be interesting to hear that from Rush's perspective, right? So if somebody called in and said, Bernie Sanders is awesome, right?
Right.
Even if you didn't agree with Rush's take on it, it might have been interesting to hear him argue.
Well, he doesn't agree with everyone who calls in.
Okay.
Sometimes he's like, wait a minute. Let me guess what you're saying. And sometimes he'll say, I don't agree with it. And he'll explain why he doesn't agree with it.
Mm.
But he says, even though I don't agree with it, I do appreciate your call. So there are some instances where he has had, and it wasn't like full on debates or anything or full on arguments, just that he didn't always agree with every perspective.
What's the longest debate or argument you've heard him have with a phone caller?
That's a good question. I don't know, because I haven't. It's been a while since I've heard him really debate somebody, which he doesn't really do because he doesn't. He has a time constraint also.
Yeah.
If he's on, if he has like a hard break, which means that he has so much time before a break, he doesn't have the person on the phone long unless he's able to keep them on the phone and get him to stay on the line until they come back from break. But I haven't heard a lot of real debates. But there were people that have called that for some reason, I don't know why, maybe they said they were conservative, but they somehow got through and they wanted to start trouble. They wanted to try to start trouble and he was like, how did he get through? I can't remember how that happened, but it was weird. He called those listeners, he had a name for them. I can't remember what that was.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like a real listener. It was more like it felt like it was a listener that was just wanting to listen and try to find out a thing to debate Rush on.
Yeah. And
there hasn't been a lot of those, but that doesn't mean that there won't be any more of them.
And again, this might go back to me being...
But you haven't listened to enough of it either.
No, but you're saying that the debates haven't been long.
No.
This goes back to being spoiled from listening to Howard Stern.
That's right.
I've listened to his show sometimes where he'll have, like, not as much anymore, but back in the day, I remember people would call him and he'd have, like, hour-long debates where it's, like, him and Robin yelling at the caller for an hour.
Oh,
and
wow.
then going back and forth with them for whatever reason. Like, one of the best times, it wasn't an hour, but it was maybe 30 minutes. Having some water there. It was maybe a 30-minute phone call, and this is back in the 90s. Somebody called in to talk about how much they thought Howard's movie sucked, and how it was just like a fluff piece about how great he was, and it wasn't really accurate. And Robin started yelling at the phone caller, and Howard started yelling at him.
There's a documentary about him?
No, remember he did his movie in the 90s?
What movie was it?
Private Parts.
Oh, yeah. I've never seen it, but yeah, I heard of it.
I'm a fan. It wasn't the best movie ever made, but it had some good scenes.
Okay.
But the caller was saying that it made Howard seem like he was just this really good guy, and that his bosses were horrible.
Wow.
So Howard's debating with the guy, and then Robin starts yelling at the guy.
Oh.
And it was only like a 30-minute debate, but it was really, really fun to listen to.
Wow.
And that's kind of the stuff.
Were they trying to discredit the guy, or were they just saying, well, how do you know that, blah, 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 blah?
It was kind of like, how do you know that this wasn't going on? And Howard was making the example of, you weren't listening to me back in the time when this film was based, and I was yelling about management back then.
Right.
And Robin was kind of backing him up on that. And of course, Robin's going to back him up.
Of course, because that's co-host.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to hear a little bit more of that confrontational stuff on Rush's show, as far as him going into it with callers. But that's also because I like that kind of thing.
And I, what I would like to, because I've heard this on with guest hosts.
Go ahead.
And there are some guest hosts that, one in particular that I really like, who actually said, and he had a British accent. He's like, I would like a liberal to call in, I want a liberal to call in, if you're a liberal, go ahead and call in, because I want to have this conversation with you. But he's one of my favorite guest hosts on that show because he's so funny, and he puts his own comedic spin on the whole thing. The two perspectives, it's just funny how he puts it together. It's hilarious. And so, I wonder, I would like Rush to do that. And maybe one day I'll call in and suggest it to him.
Yeah.
And I tried, but that never happened. I called in once before, like I told you, but I ended up talking to the guest host, which was fine because I actually like this guest host. But I would have loved to have talked to him. Do you like him more than you like Rush? I like them both. Okay. I like them both. Rush has been at this for 31 years. Okay. So he's a pro at this. But when he has his guest hosts on, he has really, really good guest hosts. He's got Ken Matthews. He's had Todd Herman from Seattle. From Seattle? Yep. Go ahead. I think he's with a station called KUTH? I forgot what it was. And then Mark Stein, who is an author, and he also does commentary. He's from Canada. I think he might have been from England too. I don't know, but hilarious guy. Really, really funny. Has he ever had a liberal guest host? No, liberals would not be guest hosting, but I think that would be weird. See, that would be entertaining to me. That would show that he could kind of mix it up a little bit. Yeah, but then it wouldn't make any sense because he's not. No, but it would be a different perspective. It'd be he's out on vacation. Yeah. Let's try this guy who has a completely different take on things, who maybe Rush respects as a broadcaster. No, I don't think so. But I would agree that it would be kind of interesting to have him debate somebody that was maybe moderately liberal. If they were way, way, way liberal, they probably wouldn't go on the show. But if they were somewhere in the middle, that would be kind of interesting. You know what else would be compelling is if one day he brought in somebody who was liberal to co-host the show with him, and then you could hear them kind of get into it. That might be something that if I ever do get a hold of him, I would maybe suggest. Another thing you could suggest, and I'm saying it like you talk to him all the time. Yeah, I don't talk to him. You've never talked to this man before. But it might be interesting if he brought in one of his family members who was more liberal than him, and they talked about politics. I don't know I don't know about any of his family members that are, because a lot of them, his parents were conservative, but I don't know about the other ones. Mm. That's a good question. Yeah. So let me tell you about my experience. Okay. So you said yours. Well, my finishing comments would be real quick is that it was okay. It's not something I would listen to all the time. If we did another news exchange, I might listen to it. But I feel like he's good at what he does, but I didn't feel like I really knew him. I just knew what he was telling people, right? But and you don't really know any broadcaster, but I didn't get the sense that I knew who he does talk a little bit about himself too. Yeah. As far as his family life, how he grew up, where he grew up. One time he did a tribute to his wife's father. Okay. And he also did a tribute to his one of his aunts who died. But it's not just about knowing where you grew up. It's also after the show last night, we went out and we had drinks and, I pound too many back or I don't really drink anymore because of this. Well, he talks about his cigar, he does smoke cigars. Okay. If you listen to him enough, and I know that you don't, but if you listen to him enough, you will get a sense of what he does on his off time because he loves golf. He loves cigars, which I don't. I think they're gross. He likes all kinds of music. He's really into Apple products. He's given away iPhones. Mm. He's given away, and sometimes he'll give up these the new Apple whatever is coming out, and I haven't tried it yet, but I ordered it online and blah, 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 blah. And he also talks about, he also promotes products too, like, Legacy Box. Yeah, I told you about that.
But is it like a cold read where an advertiser pays him to read a commercial?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But that's because, and that's because I listen to him a lot more than you do.
Sure.
But anyway, on to what I was going to say, about my experience.
It was great, and you're now going to vote for Jill Stein in the next election.
No.
You're going to volunteer with Bernie
I
Sanders.
I came in there conservative, but I'm more conservative now that I've finished.
Oh. No, that's not true, is it?
It hasn't changed much.
But you haven't become more conservative, or else I've really screwed up, and I'm probably going to be going to hell.
I never said that either.
Okay.
You're putting words in my mouth.
I thought you just said you were more conservative than you were when you went there.
No, that's not what I meant.
Okay.
I'm just saying that I was just kidding about that. I'm just as conservative as I was when I got in. But I will say, and you probably would agree with me, that so I listened to Democracy Now! For 3 full hours. Good grief. The most depressing 3 hours that I ever had to listen to.
I did give you that warning going in that it wasn't going to be like...
It was not
Martin Lawrence stand-up comedy.
It was not sunshine or roses or bubblegum or whatever in the sky.
No.
It was definitely doom and gloom. But I had some takeaways from it.
Go ahead.
I have criticism, but I have takeaways.
Go ahead.
I did like that she did have people on there that maybe not a lot of people knew about. Like Adam Cohen or who wrote this op-ed pushing back against Clarence Thomas. And then there was Marion Buller, who's like the chief commissioner of this organization in Canada. And that one professor from Cambridge I was talking about, the president's visit to England, people that I wouldn't have known about.
Right.
And, and what's happening in Canada too versus what's happening in the U.S. It wasn't just about the U.S.
Right.
And I like that she did that. I like that she showcased some countries. Not that other sources don't, but she did that in a way that was kind of interesting.
She's more open. She gives it a little bit more time. So it's like if you watch the nightly news, unless there's a big disaster, they might talk about Canada for like a minute every other week. Where she'll devote 20 minutes to it one day or 45 minutes even one day.
Right, And I did like her bumper music. It was very interesting.
She has great bumper music.
Yeah. I did like her bumper music. That's one of the things that I did appreciate. But, and this is coming from me, a person that does not listen to Democracy Now! Much. But like you said, as far as the, what you would have liked to see on Rush Limbaugh, I would have liked to have seen opposition to what maybe she has reported. Or maybe opposition to another guest. Because I never saw that yet. And I don't know if I'll watch it or listen to it again. But I did not notice that she didn't have any, opposition to what was said or what was reported on. How
much does that happen on Rush's show? Where he'll have somebody on who has an opposing point of view to him?
Okay. So, most of the people that do listen to his show, all of them for the most part are conservative.
Right, but
I wasn't finished.
Go ahead.
But, there are people that have called in that are maybe not in opposition, but they have a point of view that maybe he doesn't necessarily see.
But has he ever reported a news story and said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have somebody call in who disagrees with the news story? They're a special guest reporter, right? Or anybody like that. Where he'll report a news story and then he'll have somebody on who has a different take from the news story that he just reported.
I don't remember him doing that, but then again, I've only been listening to him for 2.5 years, so
right.
I
but
don't know.
That's a good amount of time to get a feel of who somebody is.
Yeah, but I haven't noticed it. But it doesn't mean that it may not it won't happen or anything.
Okay.
I just haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
But maybe if I do get a chance to talk to him, which I hope one day I do, on the phone at least, maybe that's something I should suggest.
Mm-hmm.
And say, have you ever thought about having somebody in complete opposition to what you said and having a debate, whether it's in the studio or whether it's on the phone?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But so that was one of your complaints with Democracy Now!
Right. I just felt like, and this is just like 3 hours of what I've listened to.
Go ahead.
I just felt like there was no positive anything. There was no positive anything. There was no positive about the other side, even though they lean mostly left. Obviously, they lean left. But it would have been nice to have said, but this is a positive thing about it. This is what the positive thing we think about it.
About Trump?
Or about maybe not about him, but about, the other stuff going on the other side that maybe wasn't reported.
Like what?
I don't know. Like, for example, the state visit in England was reported differently. Some like the ones on the left said that it was not a good visit, and the ones on the right said that it was actually a better visit than what they're reporting on. But I think it would have been great to hear different sides of it.
So I got to tell you this.
Yeah.
So we talked last night, and I told you, from what I understood of hearing Rush Limbaugh, he made it seem like nobody was protesting. And from what you heard on Democracy Now!, she made it sound like there was a lot of protesters there.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do some double checking and not just go with what Amy Goodman says.
Right.
I love Amy Goodman, and I think that she's very accurate, but, this is a thought exercise. So I Googled pictures of Trump protests in England 2019.
Yeah.
And the pictures I found could be deceiving, but it made it look like there was a good-sized crowd. What I did after that, I'm almost done. What I did after that is I went on YouTube, and I typed in the same thing. I think I made it worded differently, but it was something like, video of demonstration against Trump in England 2019. And I found some people who recorded, the demonstrations there. I don't know if it was 75,000, but it looked like there was a lot of people protesting.
So this is what I'm going to comment on that.
Okay.
Because I've heard the other side of the coin, where it was found that some news sources like CNN or MSNBC, whoever's reporting on the protests, make it look like it's more than 10,000.
By the way, I'm not checking a CNN news source because I don't trust CNN either.
Okay, I don't
for different reasons.
Okay, well, let's say it, I know you don't trust MSNBC, but there are some sources like maybe the BBC or Democracy Now! That make it seem like there's more than 10,000 people at a rally, but it was found out later on that the demonstrators were actually few in number. So I don't know exactly how many the number is. And then when you ask them why they're there, which is really funny actually, if you ever YouTube again and ask and write something like interview with protesters. I've heard clips of different, and not this one, but different protests about protesting the president. And if you ask if the person would interview them, some of them wouldn't even know why they were there. They would just repeat a lot of things that were said before.
Let me ask you a question about that.
Okay.
How much? Obviously, a lot of stupid people go to protests, no matter what side of the aisle. We can agree that, stupid leftists go to protests and also stupid conservatives go to protests, right? How much of that do you think is news sources checking for stupid people? So, for example, if I'm Fox News, right, and I interview 20 leftists at at an anti-Trump demonstration, and they all sound like they know what they're talking about and they're intelligent people, and then I interview 2 who sound like they don't know what they're talking about and they're completely ignorant, because I have a right-wing bias, wouldn't I be more likely to use the 2 interviews that make the entire protest sound ignorant?
And I would disagree with you on that. I don't think it's as simple as that. I think that if you were able to listen to the whole entire clip, I don't think they would just take the 2 that sounded really stupid and put that in the interview versus the other few that maybe didn't sound so stupid. I don't think it's as easy as taking the stupidest, the 2 most stupidest sounding people and putting them in an interview and then discounting all the other ones.
Okay, let me ask you another question related to this.
Okay.
Have you ever been watching a conservative outlet, no matter what it is, and they interview leftists who are doing a demonstration against Trump or against Paul Ryan or whoever it is?
Right. Well, I don't like Paul Ryan, but anyway.
I don't either, but he's just like an example, right?
Yeah.
Against like a conservative person.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever heard them interview a leftist where the leftist sounded like they knew what they were talking about and they made good points?
No, because a lot of them don't.
No, but Dave, that's what I'm saying.
No, I'm not. I mean, from what I've heard, and I've heard a lot of clips of interviews at protests like that, and I don't think they go into it thinking that they're gonna interview stupid people.
I see, I do, but I also think
I don't think so.
I absolutely believe that's what happens. Because it's a way of discrediting the movement. So you can have it both ways. You can say, well, we're giving a voice to the left. It just so happens that their voice is very uninformed, right? So you get to have your cake and eat it too. You get to say we're providing the left with a voice, and you can tell by what they're saying that they're not very intelligent.
Well, I would disagree with you on that. But I wouldn't disagree with the fact that there have been people that were interviewed on during those protests that did not sound unintelligent, but I don't think they go in there just to find the stupidest people in the place.
I absolutely believe that's the case.
I don't think so.
Oh, I think you are. Well, you know, TYT, I know I keep taking it back to TYT. I haven't in this episode, but they interview a lot of people at Trump rallies. And the people at Trump rallies sound really, really racist and stupid. And I've often wondered, even though it's a news source I trust, thank you for the more water. I've wondered if they just go out of their way to interview the most stupid people that they can find it.
Or I wonder if what they, and this is what I wonder, because I don't listen to TYT.
It's a great show.
Or I wonder if maybe there's been some editing going on and they'll make them look like they sound stupid and racist. Because, like I've told you before, and I know you would disagree with me, the misconceptions that the left has about conservatives is pretty biased to me. And I mean, it's like, well, if you're really right wing, then if you're really right wing, I can't talk today.
No.
Then you must be this way. And I don't like being put in a category just because my politics is not shared by them. It
is strange to me because I know a lot of people of color who are big fans of Trump.
Right.
And I don't get it because to me, I see Trump as a racist, and that's one area where we disagree.
No, I think and I would say that it's mass hysteria, and the left has a really good way of trying to make it seem like.
Don't you find it interesting that so many white nationalists have come out in favor of Trump, like David Duke?
So he came out and said that he didn't even support David Duke, and that was another thing that the left has used to try to discredit him. And I think
he didn't do it immediately, though.
No. It doesn't matter. He never supported David Duke. I think they were just using that guy in particular to make the president sound really racist. And I don't think he's racist, but like I said, I think it's mass hysteria, and I think that the people who are saying this are still upset because Hillary never won, and are still upset because Bernie didn't win. Maybe more upset that Hillary didn't win, but that's me. I mean, I think it's just mass hysteria.
By the way, I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if Hillary was a racist.
Probably.
Right. But don't you think that the conservatives have misconceptions about the left?
Well, I don't think so. And the reason why I don't think so is because they seem to be the ones that are speaking out the loudest. They seem to be the ones that want control over everything. and this is just my view.
Go ahead.
They seem like the ones that want to be control over everything. They seem to be the ones that are putting conservatives in the deplorable category without even giving it a final thought. And they seem to go back to December 8th of 2016 as the worst day in history.
December 8th?
I mean November 8th, excuse me. As the worst day in history for our nation to experience because Hillary didn't win. Or whatever their candidate was, which is mostly Hillary.
Again, you're putting everybody in one group. You're saying they seem to think about it like it's everybody in the left.
Well, what I mean is the people that are speaking the loudest,
right,
seem to be putting us in a group. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
but that's how I see it.
I think it goes on both sides. So I think that left-wing people like myself are sometimes a little bit guilty of having stereotypes about right-wing people, but I also think right-wing people oftentimes do the same thing about people on the left.
I will say, though, that the ones that, and I don't agree with this either, because there's the extreme of both sides, right? The left-wingers that don't want to listen to other people's ideas, like they'll completely dismiss it. I don't agree with that as much as I don't agree with with right-wing people that will not listen to any other people's ideas and will just completely dismiss it.
Right.
I don't think that's fair. And I think if you want to know both sides of the issue, you should listen to both sides, and then choose from there. But I don't agree with the ones that are just brazen. I don't agree with brazen anything. Is it brazen or abrasive?
Either one could apply. Really.
Brazen, yeah. Abrasive and brazen.
I would like to see some more brazen people on the left.
I think there's a lot of them.
Well, not anybody with power. So, like, I love Bernie Sanders, and we've talked about that, and I think Bernie's great, and we have some disagreements there.
A lot of disagreements.
A criticism I had about Bernie during the 2016 election is, if it was me, I would have slammed Hillary really hard on the email thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would have, like, really, really gone after her about that. I would have gone after her about the Clinton Foundation.
Absolutely.
And really, really pushed those narratives during the debate. I don't think that he's brazen enough.
And I would agree.
Okay.
With her. Yes, I would bring everything up. Now, I will say this.
Go ahead.
Now, the one thing I will say about the Democratic Party, even as much as I don't agree with a lot of their policies, I will say that they are known for rallying around each other. And I think, and even though the Democratic Party is slowly falling apart,
not that slowly.
Okay, falling apart really quickly. I think that they are known for rallying around each other, and I would like to see conservatives doing the same thing.
See, that's interesting that you just said that, because that's actually the one thing I would say about the Republican Party. I think they're really good at rallying around each other, and I think
not all of them. Not
really?
All of them, because in some ways it's very divided. You got the ultra conservatives that do want to support the president and want to do what they can for the country, but then there's the other Republicans like Mitch McConnell that want to push back on some of the things that people want to get done, and they can't get it done because those Republicans are blocking it. You
know that Mitch McConnell,
I do not like Mitch McConnell.
4 years ago, he was considered a darling of the right wing when Obama was in office.
Wow. Well, there's a lot of conservatives that are coming out that do not like Mitch McConnell because he just takes his time and will block anything that he doesn't see fit, and that's why we couldn't get a lot of things done.
I think he's an old asshole, but that's just my opinion.
Wow, now strong language, sir.
But you feel the same way.
Well, I wouldn't call him that, but I would call him a turtle. Okay. He's Mitch the Turtle.
Okay.
As Rush would say. He's a turtle because he takes his time. And he doesn't get things done because he wants to block everything that other conservatives want to get done. And he just won't do it. I don't like him for that.
I feel kind of similar on the left about people like Nancy Pelosi.
Well, she needs to be out anyway.
I think
both of them do.
Yeah. We need more people like AOC and Bernie in charge. By the way, did you know that AOC and Lying Ted are working together on something?
Huh, that's odd. I don't know about that.
They both come out and said that they're working together to get a bill passed.
What kind of bill?
This was on TYT last night, and I was, at somebody else's house. But I believe it was something to the extent of making it harder for politicians to become lobbyists after leaving their job as a politician.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm gonna look at that too, because I don't think I've heard that until today.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
So even Lying Ted can work with AOC.
Well, see, now he's no longer Lying Ted anymore.
Your president named him that.
I know, but they're getting along fine now. I mean, this was just in the beginning of the this was like in the mudslinging of the presidential election.
That's funny because
they're getting along fine now.
That's actually one of the few things I agreed with Donald Trump on.
Sleepy Joe, Sloppy Steve.
I really do like his nicknames.
Sleepy Joe,
even
Sloppy
though I think
Steve,
he's a horrible man.
Crooked Hillary. He's not all that bad. There are worse people than him.
So he's working with Lying Ted.
Yeah, they're getting along fine. Ted Cruz jumped on the wagon, and I'm serious. Ted Cruz and President Trump are fine now. I mean, they kind of let bygones be bygones now.
How do you feel about that? Because you were led to believe that Ted Cruz was a horrible person, and now you're being led to believe that he's a great guy.
Well, wait a second. I didn't like the fact that he turned against against Donald Trump when he was debating.
One of the few things I agreed with him on.
I didn't like that. Well, of course you would. You're a leftist. Lefty. That's goes without saying. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Go ahead.
Anyway,
you always do that.
That is true.
Yes.
I didn't like that. I didn't like how something happened to where Ben Carson ended up not being in the race again, and I think it was due to Ted Cruz. I didn't like that, but eventually, I will say this. Once he was elected, once he was in office, he decided that he was going to change his ways and support the president because that's what he thought was best. And even though he never got close to the election, that he was going to the best thing for him to do support the president, and now they're fine.
How did you feel?
But I don't like Paul Ryan though. I thought Paul Ryan was just I don't think he did his job very well. But go on.
I think Paul Ryan is an elitist creep.
Absolutely.
How do you feel about the fact, or how do you feel about Donald Trump trying to imply that Ted Cruz's father was involved with the Kennedy assassination?
I don't know that one. Okay, I'm not going to comment because I really don't. I did not hear anything about that, and I don't know much about it to comment.
Okay.
So I can't say.
Okay.
And yeah, so I don't know.
I will say this: as much as I hate Donald Trump, and I do hate him, and we know this.
Hate is a very strong word. You haven't
even met the man. My mom used to say that hate is a very strong word.
It is a strong word because you don't even know the man. You never met the man. Okay, anyway, go on.
As much as I hate Donald Trump.
Dislike.
I would say hate.
Dislike.
As much as I hate Donald Trump.
You don't hate him.
You don't hate Bernie?
I don't hate Bernie. I just don't like his policies.
Can't use that against you. Do you hate Obama?
No, I just don't like his policies. It's such a strong word, especially since you don't know the guy.
Okay, all right.
Go on.
As much as I dislike Trump, and I do dislike him. Oh, Lord, do I dislike Trump. I think I dislike Ted Cruz even more. I think he would make a worse president than Donald Trump.
Huh. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that says a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So if by some bizarre series of events, and I know this can't happen because they're both in the same party, but let's say Nancy Pelosi said, all right, Ted Cruz, we need you to become a Democrat just so you could run against Trump in 2020, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that wouldn't surprise me if Pelosi did something crazy like that.
That's weird.
It's some bizarre series of events. It came down between Ted Cruz being the president or Donald Trump. I would bite my tongue. I would hate myself the next morning, but I think I'd have to vote for Trump.
Mass hysteria. Well, wow, you would, huh?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Over Ted Cruz.
Wow.
Which won't happen because they're both in the same party. And I don't think Nancy Pelosi is that insane to try to...
Well, Nancy Pelosi, I think, needs to get out because she's becoming more and more incoherent by the day. And I think she's like one of those established people that is just so old now. And even the Democrats are tired of her.
Oh, I've been tired of her forever.
I mean, her and Chuck Schumer both need to just leave. They just need to go.
Yeah, and they're bought and sold by big corporations.
I would agree with you.
Not that Donald Trump isn't, but he's an odd one.
So are you.
I'm an odd one, but I'm a good one. I'm a good Rick.
You're a good Rick,
yeah.
Although very odd.
But I'm very smart, and especially about politics.
No, you're not. Not about politics. You are smart, but I think you're very misinformed.
About politics? I
Yes.
think you're very misinformed.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Excuse me.
I think you're very misinformed.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes,
but that's another discussion for another day.
That's another discussion.
Which we've all already had discussions about that.
Mm-hmm. 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 How do you feel the open mic went this morning?
Oh, that was amazing. That was so much fun.
I made the host cry.
Yeah. He gave a very, very deep, very intense poem, but it was very good.
Thank you.
And I can't remember what else he was crying about.
A friend of ours did a song that was moving.
What song was that?
It was a song, Trick.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That was good.
And good. You did some stuff there too.
I did.
You did okay.
Okay, yeah, we did the Okay Guy skit. That was actually pretty funny.
Yeah. It was better than my original name, which is Guy Who Says Okay because he wants to please everybody, but is too slow to really take any action.
It's too long.
Yeah.
And everybody figured it out.
I thought it was a little bit more descriptive, but...
It's too long.
Yeah.
But everybody figured it out, and we heard some laughing. Okay. And then I played two pieces. I played a song by the group Bread, and then I played another song by Colby Calais, which I'm glad a couple people recognized.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out really well, and a friend of ours came to watch. Yay!
And she did a poem. And
it was so good.
It was awesome.
I think he cried during that one, too.
I think he did.
Maybe that was it.
No, because he cried 3 times, and he told me after the
He cried. Yeah, he cried during yours.
Yep.
He cried during Bo's song, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He cried during the song Trick.
Yep.
I should rephrase that because we're not saying names. The song Trick, which I had never heard until today, actually.
I used to hear play that song all the time, and I just said his name.
Yes, after I did. Jolly.
That's right. I heard him play that song many, many times before.
Oh.
Really good song.
It's a good song.
Yeah.
I like the one that he played in the very beginning.
That was good.
That was really cool.
Yes.
He's a really good guitar player.
Yes.
And our other guitar playing friend.
Who will go unnamed, but was very good.
Yes.
Yes.
So it was an awesome open mic. It was very, very fun.
Nice.
It was probably one of the best ones.
It was. It was very moving.
Yes.
Alana Jaylo.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to say?
I don't have anything else to say. Other than what?
I do have one question for you.
Yes.
Now that we've done the news exchange, what are your thoughts about making this an annual thing? Or like once every 3 months?
I have to think about that.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to do an annual thing, I wouldn't mind, but I have to think about that.
Yeah.
Because that was that was challenging for both of us.
It was very weird.
Yeah.
I was so concerned that YouTube was going to start recommending me all these conservative videos.
Well,
yeah.
I really don't think so. I mean, I don't go to the recommendations. I would suggest that you don't.
I love the recommendations. My only problem is I can go down the rabbit hole and just, watch Flossie Carter videos for 3 hours straight. I do not
go to the recommendations at all. I just search. I don't want to go to the recommendations because I just would rather just look on my own.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're a lot of fun, though.
Yeah.
Especially those Flossie Carter videos.
Mm. I don't know who that is.
Flossie Carter is this really great reviewer from Jamaica, Queens, and he'll unbox phones, he'll unbox Bluetooth speakers and talk about them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great stuff.
So he'll open the boxes and stuff and see, do a review of those things.
Mm-hmm. And he'll be like, the price is too high on this. Or,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta keep it real with y'all. This product is trash.
Mm-hmm.
But it's easy to give him for him to give a product a good review if it's actually a good product.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you will. Yes.
Yes.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Whoa.
With Hammond. Happy Friday. Until next time.
Whoa.